All right, it's that time. Let's dive in. Setup building with AI next. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brennan here. Thank you very much for joining me. Like I said, we're going to be diving into the setup building with AI. Now, a couple things to note. I use Chat GPT. I know there's a bunch of other AI things out there, large language model things. Use whatever's best for you. I'm pretty sure that they're all going to be fairly similar, all right, when it comes to this. 2, you got to train Chat GPT, okay? And keep in mind, when I say Chat GPT, that means whatever AI model you're using, right? You got to train it. You can't just assume it's going to know the answers right from the get-go and solve your issues. That's not the way these things work. The more you do this, the better it will get. Now, one thing that I was kind of concerned with was, well, what happens if I've done all this work and then all of a sudden iRacing does an update and now, boom, that changes? That's not the case. All you got to do is go in there and say, hey, this was updated, here's the changes, and you can literally copy and paste off of iRacing's site, right off the forum, like the release notes, copy and paste the changes that was made to that car, put it into Chat GPT, and it'll update the memory. Okay, we'll get into more stuff like that later, but just so you know, if you're thinking like, dude, I'm gonna do all this work and then it's gonna change it, there's ways to update it. It's very simple. The more you do this, the better it's gonna get. Okay, trust me. When I first started doing this, the setups that it would give me, it's like, man, these aren't even passing tech. Now they're amazing. Okay, so it takes a little bit of work, but once you get it going, it's really, really good. All right. Third, it's not a magic wand. It's not going to give you some secret, setup that's going to make you 0.3 of a second faster than everybody. Okay, I don't know how many times I have to keep saying this. That stuff does not exist, and when it is out there, it's going to get found out. It's going to, the broken setup thing, it happens. Okay, it doesn't matter who you are, it's going to happen. If it does happen, it's going to get out there. And if you think Chat GPT is going to just magically, give you these secrets, that's not the case. It's just like anything else. Okay, so just if you're thinking like this is going to give you this super secret stuff, you're going to be highly disappointed. All right, just want to get that out there as well. Okay, so anyways, we're going to do the NASCAR Cup car today. The reason I'm doing this one first is because if you can do it with the Cup car, you can do it with any car. All right, the principles and stuff remain the same. We'll do some other cars, but the principles and everything remain the same. All right, so let's head over to ChatGPT and let's dive in. Okay, so on ChatGPT, we started a new project. You start here, you just go to new project, you would start a new one. The reason we want to do each car as a project is because this thing's got memory, it'll update the memory, and as you do that, so like I do it for the trucks, the Xfinity, the sprint car, the late model, like all that stuff, and you keep it separate, and it keeps the memory updated separately. It just makes it much cleaner and easier to use. I also have a couple of project files that you want to get right from the get-go. So first up, I got the NASCAR Next Gen manual from iRacing, their iRacing shock tuning guide. And then this is the setup parameters doc. Now keep in mind, this is something that you were going to have to make, okay? I made this. Now the nice thing is once you make it, it's simple, okay? You can just keep updating it. So this right here, this is the iRacing Next Gen Cup car setup parameters. This is for the speedways, so we would need to do one for short tracks and road courses, super speedways, but got it for speedways. And all it is just all the adjustments and the minimums and maximums that you could do for each adjustment. That is obviously not correct. But you can see left front, left rear tire pressures, min, max. Right side, min, max. Nose weight, min, max. So it's just the guidelines for what this stuff is, the preloads, all this stuff. You take this, save it, and then you upload it into the project files, right? Now this one I'm going to actually get out of there because I just noticed that I had that typo, okay? And so now we're ready to go, right? We've got our parameters, we've got our basic stuff, and we're ready to go, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is you want to have a setup to use, okay? Now, here's the thing. They could be your own setups, like setups that you've ran before, as long as they're, current setups in terms of, passing tech, things like that, you can use those. They could be current setups. They could be the iRacing setups. They could be setups from your team, or maybe you got them from, I don't know, one of the many setup builders out there. It doesn't matter. But you want to have something that you got to start with. You can't just go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, make me a setup." All right, because it's right now it's got no reference point. We're looking at this from the very beginning. Later on, once you do a bunch with it, then you can go and say, "Hey, give me a setup close, similar to, like, we're racing at Michigan this week, so give me a setup similar to the one that we ran at Auto Club," and it'll build you one. It'll, boom, here you go, right? So you got to have something to get going. So we're at Pocono. I went out, I ran just a couple of laps with this before we started recording this, because you don't need to watch me test. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this setup. So we're going to just open up the setup. We're going to click on this export. We got it exported right there. Okay, keep in mind, you want to do this after you do a run. The reason why is you see it's got the tire temps on here and the percentages. Okay, we're going to show that with our telemetry data. Now, this workbook right here, this one that says Next Gen Cup 7 2025 VCC. Okay, this is the work. I'm going to give you guys this workbook. This is a free workbook that is for this Chat GPT stuff. Okay, this is not my personal workbook. It doesn't have all of my custom stuff in it. All right, it's just the one that you need here to use with Chat GPT. Okay, so it's got engine, driver, garage, and then aero platform, and these two things in the aero platform are, it's one of them is in the ride heights here. Okay, so right now we're going to look at this. This setup that I ran is pretty well optimized, but we're going to look at this setup, and what we're going to do, we ran 4 laps, nothing big, and you can do this 2 ways. You can right click, and then you can go to export data. When you export the data, you're going to want to export this as a CSV file. Visible channels, visible data, and for your output sample rate, you want to do 50 hertz. Okay? And then you would export this data. Make sure you can see how I got a bunch of exported data. Make sure that you get this stuff in a spot that you can keep it organized, because this data will add up fast. Okay? So right now, what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually right-click on this. I'm going to do this in a folder, and we're going to call this Pocono Run. Okay, so here, and then where it says Stint 1, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little dash, and it's going to be suspension and ride control. That's just, all of this data is important for ChatGPT, but suspension and ride control is this section. Okay, so that way it just knows, hey, suspension, and you don't even need to type it all out. Just put suspension and just put ride height. Okay, there we go. Shock position, we don't need to give it this one yet. Shock velocity, we don't need to give it that one yet. Wheel speed, we don't need to give it that one yet. Spring force, we can give it this one. For spring force, same thing. You're just going to go to export data, visible data. This should all, once you do it once, it should all be there. We'll just do this, dash spring force. Okay. FFT and histogram, we'll come back to those. Shock change, we don't need to do that right now. And dynamic loads. This is based off the spring force data that we just gave it. What I'm going to do with this, though, is, well, no, actually, we'll export this data. So we'll export this, and we'll just call this dynamic spring force. Okay, you don't have to get cute with the names. ChatGPT will figure this out. Now, for the suspension FFT, which actually I've never used myself because I didn't fully understand it. I was trying to learn it, but ChatGPT understands it very, very well. So we're going to actually just take a picture of it. We're going to just do a snip. We're going to right-click, copy. We'll just paste this into there right now, into our chat. And then next, with the suspension histogram, we're going to do the same thing. New, get a little snippet, right-click, copy, and then paste. Okay, so now we're going to go add photos and files. We want to add our exported setup, so we're going to go to Documents, iRacing, Setups, Gotta find our car. Go to Camry, Insider, Pocono. For exports, it'll have the little Chrome signal because it's an HTML file. So there's that. And then we're going to add all of that exported data that we had exported. Now I've got that separated. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe it's here, VCC, MoTeC exports. There we go. You can see I got a bunch of it, Pocono run. And then we will just do that and open. And open all of those up. Okay. So now we've got that. During the run, the car felt a little twitchy, and what I mean by twitchy is the car felt a little bit unstable. It was very nervous. So there was a couple of times where I'd go into the corner under high speeds, and it felt like the front had good grip, but the rear was not as hooked up, okay? So I'm going to give Chat GPT that information. Keep in mind, we've got the project files on here, and then on here where it says instructions for this, I put on here, hey, answer these like a NASCAR Cup Series crew chief or engineer would. And I also put on here, remember, we're working on the iRacing sim racing platform. Even though it's based on real world data, it's still a sim. So we want ChatGPT to know this, so that way it doesn't answer us like it's Ray Evernham or some crap like that, because that's not going to be beneficial to us in a sim, right? So we're going to say now, am building a setup for the, and keep in mind this first one, you want to, even though we have the instructions here, we want to give it all of that data from the beginning just to help train it, okay, off the get-go. Building a setup for the NASCAR Next Gen Cup car at Pocono Speedway on the iRacing platform. All right. Using the provided data, please help me optimize this setup for the long run. During this first test, the car felt pretty good, but seemed nervous in corners at high speed. Please, so please make any, or I shouldn't say please make, please suggest any adjustments. See fit, whether it's mechanical or aerodynamic. And that's really important, okay? So we got all of this data in here. This just says it's unable to display the visualization. We don't care about that. Now it's going to give us our answer. So based on the setup you're running at Pocono with the blah, 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 feedback about the car, nervous. Here's a targeted breakdown with both mechanical and aero spring shock tuning suggestions for long run stability and confidence. God, I cannot read today, especially in turns 1 and 3. I didn't even tell it that, but that was where I was having the issues. The car in the tunnel turn felt great, but turns 1 and 3 was where I was having the issues. It can see that in the data. That's why I love this thing so much. So first of all, what the data tells us. So it's going to break all this down and tell it to you. So you guys, not only does this help you in terms of making the car better, but it's going to help you learn this stuff. This is what is so important about this. All right. It's why I decided to share this with you, right? Instead of like doing the whole app thing. Even though I could have built the app and then charged money for it and stuff like that. Like I said before, that's never been the goal of this, right? The money was always to just justify the time spent. Now that I'm going to be, done doing this, I don't want to have people feel lost and feel like they need, to ask me questions or need help from me or something like that. That's the beautiful thing about this. You've got this right here. Once you do this a few times, this thing's going to answer any and all questions that I could ever answer for you, and it'll probably give it to you way better than me, right? All my years of knowledge and testing and stuff like that, this thing will make obsolete like that. Okay? So you're not only going to be able to build better setups, have adjustments, do it quicker and more efficiently, you're going to learn at a much faster rate too, which is amazing. It really is. So here we go. What's the data tell us? Right front, right rear temps are cooking 203 to 213 with the big delta from inside to outside. You're wearing the inner shoulders hard, typically a sign of too much camber and or aero platform tilt. Keep in mind the cup cars, because the tires are so wide, that can happen some. There's always going to be little things that you have to train ChatGPT on. For example, the trucks and the Xfinity cars, we always max out the left front cambers, right? We always run the max left front camber, because with those tires, it doesn't really matter. It gives us the best grip on the left front, especially at the apex of the corner, and tire wear wise, it doesn't really hurt us. So in the beginning, when I would be doing truck and Xfinity setups, ChatGPT would be like, hey man, this inside, you're wearing it way too much, you need to adjust it. So I just tell ChatGPT, hey, one of the things that we do, we run those maxed out. I will let you know if that ever changes in the future. Okay, it's like you talk to it like a person, man. As weird as that is, but that's what you do. So ride height. This is a relatively flat aero platform, which could explain a nervous car, especially at turn-in and over long runs. Front ARB, very stiff and heavily unpreloaded. Rear ARB, with the 9.5 preload, this is pretty tame, but still contributes to overall rear stability. So here's the recommended setup adjustments. Right front camber, try backing it off. Aim for more balance inside temperatures, blah, blah, blah. Spring rate adjustments. Right rear spring is 3750. Too close to your fronts. This hurts rear compliance and long run grip. Drop right rear. Give them more grips through the bumps. ARB preload and diameter. So it's going to give us all the adjustments right here. It's going to give us a bunch of adjustments. Okay. Now, keep in mind, also gives you shock adjustments, which is huge. Keep in mind, this right now is basing it off of, it's still got some real world thought process behind it. Okay. So there are things that we want to tell it, like, hey, thanks for the adjustment, but I don't want to do that for this reason, right? For X reason or Y reason, right? So when it comes to something like the left rear toe in, right? A lot of times I run positive 530 seconds, because that just helps with the cornering of the car and the drive off on the car. I learned that trick. I kind of stumbled across it back in like 2021 at Bristol. On like we were doing the Bristol 500, I was building a setup and I couldn't get the thing to like not spin out. It was like wanting to spin out after 75, 80 laps, no matter what I did. So I started playing with that and I realized, hey, if I max this out, this thing, it's like, it was just like magic. It just added like another 50 laps to the long run. It was crazy. So now I started testing that and trying it at all tracks. And for the most part, like every track, it works, right? Road course is different thing, but like on the left, the ovals, it works. So if it says, hey, do this, I'm going to be like, actually, no, we're going to just leave it at this, okay? Right here, right rear toe in, it's saying I should add right rear toe in. I don't really add right rear toe in very often, so I'm probably not going to do that here. I'll let it know that. Front ARB, optional. See this? I gave it a minimum and maximum. It's giving me it's saying, hey, soften the front bar. I'm going to tell it, hey, we only have two options on the ARBs, front and rear. We can run a 2-inch bar or a 1.375-inch bar, right? So these little things, you have to kind of do it in the beginning. Once you do it, though, like I said, it's going to pay off. So let's do this really quick. Thanks for the suggestions, but a couple things to note. First off, we only 2 options for the ARB diameters. We can run either a 5-inch bar or a 2-inch bar. Okay, so we're gonna do that. All right, and then I'll say, so now we're gonna tell it that it's now gonna make its adjustments based off of that new knowledge that it has. So here's the thing. We got our new ARB strategy. Okay. So this thing right here, this is the stuff that I was talking about. You can see right here, If you're building for a long run with predictable aero attitude, the 1.375 front bar with mild preload and the softest possible rear bar setup or disconnected is your best starting point. That's a very aggressive answer from it, okay? So we don't want to just go, oh, sweet, let's try that, because it's going to be horrific, all right? So what you want to do is we're going to go out. Yeah, it gives us some options here. We're going to go out and we're going to try the reduced one, okay? We're not going to go to the, hey, let's go to max, because that's obviously, we want to stay away from that. We'll try the reduced one with the other adjustments. Once we do that and we get some more data for it and show it and say, hey, here's what's going on, here's what happened, then we'll be able to start building that memory. And once you do that, like I said, it takes just a couple of times, but once you do that, then you're going to be in really, really good shape. Now, the other thing that you could do is you could give it setups that you already have that work, right? So if you have a setup for Pocono, you're like, dude, I really love the setup. I just want to see if I can make it a little bit better. Then that's all you got to do. Say, hey, this setup is really good. I'm just trying to get a little bit more out of it on the long run, right? Optimize it for me. Then it'll do that. It's not going to suggest crazy adjustments, okay? So we'll look at a little bit of that more later, but right now I'm going to do these. I'm going to do these adjustments, and then I'm going to pause it. I'm going to go run some test laps, and then I'll come back and we'll look at this again. Okay, so I just went out and ran another 5-6 laps with our changes. Car felt okay, a little bit better. The nose still feels like the nose feels kind of pinned. I think the rear, if I look at this real quick. You need to look at Chat GPT. If I look at this, I'm betting that my rear is too high. I need to probably improve my rake. Let's see here. Yeah. So, yep. So, that's something that I'm going to do on my own. But overall, the car feels pretty good. So, I'm going to actually go in here. That's going to add quite a bit of rear grip, that adjustment. But we're going to save this as 2.1. I'm going to go back out there and run some more laps, and we'll come back and look at the data with Chat GPT. Okay, so I just went out, ran another 5-6 laps. Right now we're just in kind of the training starting phase of this. Ran 5 or 6 laps. We're going to do the exact same thing. Now, last time, if you remember, I exported the data and then, took like, screenshots or snips of like the shocks and stuff like that. You can do that for everything if you want. You really can. So for this time, I'll show you. We'll do ride heights. Copy that. Paste. Let's see, this stuff let's see. Spring force. Yeah, let's do this. Might need this. That roll balance that it shows right there, that's the roll balance is actually based on formula created for the front and rear ARBs, that the complement of those. And so that's one that you definitely want to show it when you're working on handling, because it will give you some good info, especially since ChatGPT one that told me how to create it. So dynamic loads, that and then so we need let's just do the histogram this time for the shocks. And I guess we could do the FFT with it. ChatGPT used it, so we'll get it that. Okay. So now we've got all of our data pasted there. Let's get our exported setup, which is the one that I just ran. And we want to do that because remember, it's got the tire wear and all that stuff on there, as well as what adjustments were made from previously, because it can actually see the setup of the car. So that, and it's 2.1. Okay, so now I'm just going to tell it, basically. The car feels better and more stable, but it's a little hard to handle going through the bumps in turn one. So let's see if optimize the shocks for the bumps and then work on making it better for long. I can tell you right now, it's already good for the long run. Laps set, 5, 6, and 7, we're still getting faster. This is a really good long run setup. But anyways, you can see here that, hey, we've already made meaningful progress, blah, blah, blah. Rake is this. So whatever. Rake is close to, so this is something that's important. Rake is close to neutral to slightly negative. Not ideal for high-speed downforce, and the car's platform is a bit stiff over the bumps, especially in turn 1. So this is something that we need to clear up right now. One thing to note on next-gen Cup cars is they like negative rake, especially with the underbody and rear diffuser. Having negative rake improves the overall downforce of the car. Okay, so we're going to tell it that little bit of information. So it's going to give us whatever it's. So let's clarify and build around that. So it's got the aero concept, whatever. We don't need that. So now it's just basically updating what it gave us before. Like, hey, you're right. Here's what we're going to do with it. So our rake angle floats between negative 0.05 and negative 2, which is excellent. You're in the sweet spot for generating diffuser load without stalling the underbody. Beautiful. Rear ride heights are consistently around blah, 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 which means you're avoiding diffuser stall, critical for turn 1 and turn 3. So don't raise the rear thinking it'll fix stability. Instead, ride height trim with a packer or spring. We don't have packers. So raise right front spring slightly. Avoid increasing right rear spring if it risks pushing ride height greater than 1 point. So we'll raise the right front slightly. We don't have any packers. Add packer preload to the right front. Yeah, we don't have packers on these cars. If rear rub blocks engaged early, it'll push the rear ride height up. Check the right rear ride height doesn't spike greater than 1.9 on compression. We'll check that. Dynamic spring force ratio. So you're right around 0.2 on the front, 0.51 rear right now. That's a great dynamic load split. Ideally, what we want the rear to carry 60 to 65% of the downforce at speed. So this is in range. Okay. You're already on negative rake and it's working. Do not change, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we're good there. We're going to make that adjustment to the right front. And we remember up here, because we talked about the rake, it gave us our shock adjustments, which we want to do right here. So here's our current settings. This is what it's telling us to change it to. Notice how these are not insane changes, which is important, okay? Small adjustments on these shocks. I know people out there like, hey, man, max them out, dude. That's these really make a big difference, man. When you fine-tune these shocks and you get them dialed in, it makes such a huge difference. I did a run, the setup that you guys are using at Nashville. Is it Nashville or Charlotte? Can't remember. Can't remember which one it was. But because I optimized the shocks with both of them, but one of those tracks, I want to say it was Nashville. I saw a 1/10 of a second improvement per lap over the course of a 50-lap run I'm about 95% sure that was Nashville Super Speedway. Just by fixing the shocks, and literally the adjustments were very small because Nashville's not a crazy track when it comes to like bumps and stuff like that. So these shocks make a difference. Okay, I know everyone's gonna be like, well, the pros run all 10s. Congratulations to the pros, they're amazing. I'm not a pro. Okay, so this for me makes a huge difference. If it doesn't for you, so be it, but for me it makes a huge difference. So we're gonna make these changes. I'm gonna do all of these changes. So we're gonna go on the high speed compression, we're gonna go to 5 and then 6 on the slope. That was the left front. So high speed compression 5 and then 6. On the rebound, high speed rebound, we're going to go to 5 and 6 as well. 5 and 6 as well. Right front compression, we're going to go to 5 and then let's just go to 5 on the slope. The compression's already at 5. On the rebound, we're going to go to 3 or 4. Let's go to 4 on the rebound slope, high speed. Left rear, it's saying 4 or 5 and then slope 5. So let's leave the compression, or let's put the low speed compression. Oh no, high speed compression, excuse me. High speed compression at 5, and then the slope is going to be 5. High speed rebound, let's go to 5 and 5 on that. Right rear, high speed compression, so 4 and 5. Rebound, 5 and 6, right? Not massive changes, but those changes will definitely make a difference. So now we're going to, we wanted to also raise this. We'll raise this 1 click. That 1 click does change our preload. We want to lower that back down. Okay, so that 2 clicks. Actually, what we're going to do, drop that back down, drop that back down. Because I don't have, we could do that, but it's going to change that. I don't want to mess with that too much. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to add 100 pounds to the right front. When I did testing before, because it's obviously it's hard to judge because a packer can't really tell what a packer is. We don't have them. But when I did testing before on those slight adjustments that it tells me to do things like that, where it's like add a packer sim or whatever, I found that between 100 and a 200 pound spring adjustment seems to work pretty well. So we'll do that slight spring adjustment. We don't even need to reset the ride height because it's so small, and we'll go from there. All right. So I'm going to pause it again. I'm going to go turn some more laps, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so did another 5-6 lap run. Got our data. Car felt pretty good. And so I got a bunch of stuff already exported. I'm trying to do some of this stuff off screen, the repetitive stuff, because you guys don't need to see it. Just wasting time. And then we'll give them this new FFT right here and the histogram, shock histogram. And we can also do, we haven't done this one yet, just because I typically, when we get into this stuff, I'm doing it more when we're at, when I'm getting into the long runs and really trying to dial this stuff in. We'll give it this aero stuff right now to the rake, and then also the plot. And the scatter plot just shows the aero platform versus the speed. Chat GPT will just use that to basically confirm, like, hey, this is the rake and this is the speed, and we want to go this way or that way, right? So, all right, so we got that. So now let's load up our files again. Got 2.2 on the exported setup, and then we need to do all of the exported data. Let's see, Pocono run. This 2.2. I'm just going to send this into a compressed zip file. Okay, car definitely feels better. Let me see. How do I want to put this? Car definitely feels better. Just needs a little more front end grip. Feels great. Ready for a long run test. So we're going to give it that. Now see, this is what's really important. Chat GPT is not just taking what I'm saying, it's confirming it with data, which is what we want. It's clearly refined for both ride quality, bumps, and aero performance, given the negative rake. Looking at the data, shock platform tuning is 90% there. A little more front end grip. Let's attack that. So that's what we want. If you're like, hey man, this car feels amazing, and then ChatGPT is like, hey, your steering wheel angle is twice what it should be, or your wheel spin, or whatever, like it'll find those things for you. So that's really important to make sure you're being consistent with the data and stuff that you're giving it. For me, I've worked with it enough now to where I know what I need to give it. In the beginning, I would give it everything. That was how I got this MoTeC workbook refined down to what I need for ChatGPT, because there were some things on like the dynamic loads and stuff like that. ChatGPT would come back and be like, hey, well, it looks like this, but your ARB load seems to be really high. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, take that out of the equation, and then it would have a much better answer. So once you do this and you kind of learn, like, this is the data I need to give it consistently, this is the data I want to give it in this situation or this situation, you're going to become more and more proficient and refined with this, and it's just going to give you better and better answers. Okay, so right now you can see current snapshot. It's saying left front and left rear, excellent spread, smooth digressive profiles, not overreactive, solid damping. Sweet. Right front, super tight, high peak and low speed range, not much damping range. It's limiting front travel over bumps. We can look at this and see that ourselves. Right? Super peaky, really, really tight. Okay? So we know that, hey, it's seeing what we're feeling. Good. FFT, clean with minimal high frequency noise. This confirms we're not overloading the chassis through the rough stuff. Good. Rake is steady. Aero map propsy shows stable load production across throttle and mid corner. You're in the efficient zone. Awesome. That's what we want. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on the compression slopes. This adds a bit of digression, blah, blah, whatever. Front ARB current. It's going to ask us to change the preload. That's not even a click. Slight reduction. There's really no way for us to do that adjustment, which is fine. And then, as you can see here, it's saying the inner shoulder temps look underutilized. All right, so now we're going to do this, and we're going to do a 20-lap run. We'll get this saved as 2.3. And now we'll go out and we'll do a 20-lap run, and we'll see where it's at. And most likely, it's going to be in a good spot. All right, you guys, so that's going to do it for this video. We'll have another video covering this stuff. We'll be doing some dirt cars. I'll show you guys how to do GT3 cars, like a car that I've never done, that I know nothing about, so that way you can see, like, this is how you do it from complete scratch if you have no experience. All right, because I don't want these videos to be like 2-3 hours long. That's just too much. But the more you do it, the more it's going to improve and the better it's going to get. It's not going to be perfect from the get-go, but I'm telling you, if you stick with it just for a little time, build a few setups using this, go out there, race them, test them, get race data. I cannot tell you how important that is. I've saved so much telemetry over the last, year or two, that I had telemetry that I could actually take and give to ChatGPT and be like, hey, this is what the car was doing with this setup in dirty air. And it was like, hey, here's how we fix it, right? So get race data and then come back with that race data and go, hey, this is what the car was doing. This was our setup. This is how it did in the race data. Laps 15 to 30, I'm in dirty air, right? How can we fix that? How can we adjust it? Talk to ChatGPT like you were sitting down talking to a NASCAR engineer or a sprint car crew chief or, whatever. It doesn't matter. Talk to them like you would if they were a real life engineer on a race car, and you'll get answers. Give it the data, you'll get the answers. It's pretty incredible. So I'm hoping today's video gives you kind of that baseline, that starting point. Go out, play with it. I have the link down below so you can download the workbook, the MoTeC workbook, and the parameter sheet. I'll give you that too. That's going to be with this video. It's not on the website. It's not going to be on the website because the website's changing all this stuff. At the end of this year, I'm going to be done. So it'll be on this video in the description in a Google Drive, you know, till, I don't know, for a long time. So that's where it'll be. So if you want to get it, that's where you got to get it from. All right. So thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate all of the really kind words and comments that I got in the, you know, like the goodbye video, like this is my last year video. I do really appreciate it. There was a lot of you guys who said some really nice things, and then also not just in the comments, but also reached out personal messages in Discord, stuff like that. I really appreciate it. I do. I thank you guys for that. It's been, you know, this has been a crazy fun ride, and as much as I'm ready to move on to the next thing, I am there. You know, part of me is still sad that I know that it's coming to an end. So I really appreciate you guys, the comments on that does mean a lot, and you know, thank you. So anyways, you guys, I hope this helps. Get out there, start playing around with it. That's the best way to learn, and I will see you in the next video. So guys, until next time, as always, I want to wish you good luck, good racing, take care.